Hi guys, welcome back. So it is the season for pumpkins and all things fall. I am sitting in my favorite corner of the house right now with all my little pumpkins and gourds and all that stuff. And I thought I would just go through a list of my top pumpkins that I want to grow for next year. It was very hard to narrow this list down, okay? I just want to, I don't know, for some reason right now, this year, I just want to grow every single pumpkin there is. And I would need lots of space for all those vine crops. I'm gonna just jump right in. I'm gonna start with the first category, so the ones where you can eat and use for decorating. And these are honestly my favorite pumpkins. They're not the bright orange ones. As you can see my decorating, I have a couple orange gourds, but I love the pumpkins that are more pastel neutral colors. And there's several great ones for decorating and eating. First one is known as the fairy tale pumpkin. Now it is most common in France, and people actually sell little slices of this pumpkin in the markets that people can buy and eat. And it's also known as a different word, which I'll put down here because it's French and I'm not gonna butcher the name. But I love it. It's kind of like they described it as a mahogany hue. It's not bright orange, it's more of that pastel color. It has deep lobes, it has excellent taste, and it gets up to 15 pounds. And days to maturity is 90 to 120 pounds. So I love that pumpkin. It's beautiful, I want to taste it. And it's great for cooking and baking. So I'm guessing it has that taste that can either go for like roasting or in soups or pastas, but also great for baking, they say. Next one, Cinderella Pumpkin. Kind of that same shape, more of a flatter pumpkin, but definitely has a brighter orange. It's not orange either. It's more of a coral color, I want to say, but great for baking. And they describe it as that flattened old-fashioned shape, so same as the fairy tale. It's not nice and round or tall, but it's kind of more on the flatter side with that bright orangey coral smooth skin. It's beautiful to use as decoration, or this is known for your pie baking pumpkin as well. Now when I was doing research on this pumpkin, it didn't tell me how much it weighs. It just said diameter 15 inches. So that's how big it gets. And days to maturity is the same, 90 to 120 days. Moving on, since Cinderella Pumpkin is kind of more that brighter orange, I'm going with the next one, which is also a bright orange. So not my favorite color for decorating, but the taste of this one I hear is incredible. And this pumpkin is called Early Sweet Sugar. It's a smaller one, a cute little baby pumpkin that's nice and round, has that bright orange skin as well, but it's smaller. It's about 6 to 7 pounds. And this is one of the longest storage ones I've heard. I've never grown this one, never tasted it, but just going off of what I've done some research on, has excellent storage life, which is great. Very sweet, perfect for baking. 6 to 7 pounds and only 90 days to maturity, whereas the other ones can stretch up to 120 days that we've covered. So that's great. It's an early pumpkin, only 90 days, small, perfect for baking, and long storage life. Okay, going back to more of my decorating, which is the lighter pastels, not bright colors, we're going to Long Island cheese. So the Long Island cheese gets its name because it kind of has that wheel of cheese shape, and it's also kind of a medium-sized pumpkin, 6 to 10 pounds. It just kind of has that old vintage look to me. It has a smooth stem, has deep orange flesh, which is perfect for cooking with. It's a deep orange, pretty sweet. It's not too sweet, not as sweet as the Early Sweet Sugar, but it's a pretty, or they described it as a moderately sweet flesh, deep orange flesh, perfect for baking pies. 108 days maturity, so it's kind of in the middle. And I don't know, I just love this one. The next one I'm obsessed with, and I apologize if I don't say it properly, but Jardale, and it has this beautiful green, bluish skin. It is kind of a medium to large end of the spectrum for pumpkins, 12 to 18 pounds. And it's almost like a a rounded square shape, or they call it a drum shape, but you know, kind of like a rounded square. And it has the deep rounded ribs that really give it that ribbed shape. It has that beautiful deep orange flesh, which I think contrasts so beautifully with the dark grayish blue skin. It has a long storage life, great for eating, and 100 days to maturity. Now there's one I like to call Jarhead's sister, and that is named Porcelain Doll. Has the same shape. It's a little bit bigger, 16 to 24 pounds. Still has kind of that rounded square shape or that drum shape with the deep ribs, but it is a pale pink. So it has a sweet flesh, great for baking and in soups. And it's 110 days to maturity, and they did say make sure you wait to harvest until the skin turns pink and that the stem or the handles appear corky in appearance. So good to know. Moving on, the next one I honestly wasn't a huge fan of when I first saw it. I'm like, don't like it, I'll never grow it. This one is known as Winter Luxury, and it's kind of that standard round orange pumpkin. However, it has a netted skin, they call it. So to me, it looks like a cantaloupe, which I was like, not a huge fan. But the more I looked at it, I like it because it looks like it has a layer of frost around it. So you still get that orange standard pumpkin, which like I said, when I decorate, I'm not a huge fan, but you still have that color, but it's matted and it looks frosted. So the more I looked at it, the more I liked it, and I think it would look beautiful with all the other ones that I've talked about. It's great for eating and decorating. Gets 6 to 9 pounds, so not too big, kind of a medium on the smaller side. The last one that I have that's great for eating and decorating, I'm gonna put the name down here again because it looks hard. Let me see if I can say this. Here's my list. Maria di Chiagia, maybe? And this one I thought was pretty cool. Now, normally I like the really smooth skin pumpkins, but this had that rough, blistered, warty skin. It's kind of a deeper gray color. And the one that drew my attention the most for this, they said it's great for pasta or gnocchi making, which I love both those things. Those are both like my favorite foods in the whole wide world. Gnocchi and pasta. It averages 6 to 12 pounds, so kind of a medium-sized pumpkin. 100 days to maturity, great for decorating and eating. So I thought that one was really cool. Yeah, not my standard smooth skin, but it has a very cool texture that would look great with all the other smooth skin pumpkins. Okay, that wraps up for all of the eating ones. Now I'm moving on to just decorating. First one I have down is the Blanco. So this is a nice smaller size, perfectly round white pumpkin. It has nice ribs. It's great for decorating or carving. Only 3 to 5 pounds. It's 100 days to maturity, and what I love is it has powdery mildew resistance. So I struggle with that a lot in my garden. Here in a zone 3, we just get a lot of moisture, humidity, and I noticed everything, squash, zucchini, cucumbers, all that suffer from powdery mildew here where I live. So I saw that it was powdery mildew resistant, and that was like a #1 thing. I was like, yes, perfect. Next one is a white one as well, called a flat stacker. And that's exactly what it is. It's just a white flat stacking pumpkin. So it's paired great with the fairy tale pumpkin and the Jardale pumpkin, which I think the color contrast and all those would be perfectly paired together. 15 to 25 pounds and 95 days to maturity. Moving on, next one is the Speckled Hound. And I love this one because it still has that orange color of the traditional pumpkin, but also has some green speckled into the pumpkin. With shallow ribbing, so it doesn't have that deep ribbing, but it does still have some. Average 3 to 6 pounds, so again, still on the smaller side, and 100 days to maturity. Now the next two decorative ones are the really tiny, small ones that are perfect for table centerpieces. So the first one is called the Casperita. It's a tiny little white pumpkin. It's only a half a pound to 1 pound. Perfect for fall markets and home decoration. It's resistant to the powdery mildew as well. And it's an early one at only 77 days to maturity. The next one that I chose is Jill Be Little. Now I've heard of Jack Be Little, but I haven't heard of Jill Be Little before, which is kind of why I chose it. but they're very similar. It's the same, about half a pound size pumpkin. It has that bright orange color. It's disease resistant. Has deep ribs in it, which I love. Perfect for tabletop decoration and little fall markets and stuff like that. And it's 100 days to maturity, so a little bit longer than the Casparita. Last one for the decorative purposes only, it was, and I wasn't sure I wanted to put this one in because technically it's a decorative acorn, but it was so beautiful, I just had to add it in, and that is called the Carnival. It's very colorful. It has orange, and then it also has some green patches as well. This one's very popular in the market, and something that I thought was really cool was that hot weather promotes more green on it. So if you have more of a cooler climate, instead of the green tips and stuff, it'll be more of a yellow, and if it's super hot, it'll be more of a green. So I do live in a more of a cooler climate. It did get very hot this summer for us in the 90s. Now I know some of that, for some of you, that's not that hot. But I also have a greenhouse structure, so I was thinking if I were to plant this in the greenhouse structure with still plenty of ventilation to help with that powdery mildew, but that would make it get super hot, dry. I think that'd be perfect, and enough heat to really establish that green for this acorn squash. It is smaller, only about 1.5 pounds and 95 days to maturity. My last 3 pumpkins that I have is a standard carving pumpkin patch pumpkins. First one, the jack-o'-lantern. Can't go wrong with that. And this one could have almost been put in with the eating one because people don't know this one can actually be eaten, and it's great for pies as well. But it's most commonly known for that standard carving pumpkin. 10 to 20 pounds and 90 to 120 days maturity. And that one's just kind of the cute standard, you know, circular pumpkin. Next one, and excuse me if I'm not saying it properly, but Igor pumpkin. That's the more tall, oval, deep orange skin pumpkin. It's great for carving. It's great for standing on your front step. This is on the bigger side, 25 to 35 pounds and 100 days to maturity. But this is another standard carving pumpkin, deep ribs, great for the door. Okay, and my last one that I have, I had to throw this one in, is called Mammoth Gold. Now it doesn't really have a gold skin, it does kind of have a dark orange skin, but Mammoth says it all. It gets massive. Over 60 pounds. This pumpkin has been around since the early 1800s, so if it's lasted this long, you know it's a good one. And maturity day is 90 to 120 days. So considering how big it gets, that's pretty impressive that it can get that big in only 90 to 120 days. Okay, that is it for my pumpkin list. Like I said, very hard for me to narrow it down. I want to grow all pumpkins, and I hope I can get all these seeds. I went on to look the other day as I was doing research of pumpkins that I want to grow for next year, and a lot of these seeds are out of stock until early spring of 2022. So hopefully I can get my hands on some. There's so many more that I wanted to include. I didn't even touch on gourds. How fabulous are these? I would love to grow these, and actually gonna do an experiment where once these get older, I'm going to try to extract the seeds. Now I know open pollinating, depending on how close these were together, probably won't get these same gourds out of the seeds, but I thought it'd be really cool to see what grows. Fun little experiment to see. But these are another thing I would love to grow. But again, didn't even put them in the list. There's just so many cool things to grow. I hope you found this guide useful or helpful if you're interested in starting to grow some of your own pumpkins. Like I said, there's so many different more varieties out there, but these are my top, what is there, 17? I think this is 17 varieties that I listed. I was trying so hard to keep it around 10. But then I couldn't choose, so then I decided to go up to 15, and I was about to make the video, and then I was like, I just have to add on another 2 pumpkins, and one of those was the winter luxury, the one that I said I would never grow, but I ended up falling in love with it, so I just had to throw it onto the list. So brought up to 17 pumpkins. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a perfect, just kind of a chilly, rainy day outside, and I love those days. It's very